great to have you along this evening. Well, the issue of passports and granting of passports, who is qualified to hold a Bahamian passport, and just how many of them are floating out there, again, in the headlines on social media is what people are talking about. Bahamian people. You have seen in recent time a number of persons have been hauled before the courts, foreigners, Bahamians, charged with either fraud or the possession of illegal documents or even fraudulent Bahamian passports. How is it happening? You saw last evening I had on this show the Chief Passport Officer, Nicholas Simonet, who talked about steps that are taking and an audit done by his department that revealed these various loopholes and revealed the frauds, that the fraud acts that are happening, and how, of course, it led to the prosecution of those that we saw hauled before the courts just Monday of this week. And so, many of you, though, are still very much on the fence. You have concern about the fact that these Bahamian passports are now just appearing a little too common in the hands of too many people that do not qualify to have them and hold those very sacred documents. Joining me this evening on the show, at the top of tonight's show, is former House Speaker Halson Mutri. Good evening to you, Mr. Speaker. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Be on the Headlines.
Good evening, Shanique. It's a pleasure to be here.
I know that you paid very close attention last evening to that interview with the Chief Passport Officer, Nicholas Simonet, because you've been hammering home this message of sovereignty, this message of citizenship, and all of the documents and accoutrements that accompany that for quite some time now. Yes. And you are quite concerned also about the number of fraudulent documents that are turning up in the hands of foreigners.
Yes, I listened and I watched the show last night because I was concerned that we are not taking this breach of our sovereignty and our Constitution very seriously. I was surprised to hear the Chief Passport Officer say that he can only speak for himself, which to me is an expression of a lack of confidence in the persons that he's supervisor of.
Wait, you're saying you were surprised to hear him say that when I asked the question, did the investigation or audit reveal anybody in his department who may be compromised? And when he said, listen, I can only spare for myself, you're saying you found that surprising?
I found that surprising because I read that as a lack of confidence in the very staff that he works for.
Oh, wow, that's a way to interpret it.
And also, I think the Minister of Foreign Affairs should be also concerned if the Chief Passport Officer is indicating a lack of confidence in others who work with him. And perhaps he knows something. Perhaps he knows why he cannot vouch for those other persons. Because there are a number of things happening in this country with respect to the granting of citizenship that is unconstitutional, number one, and the government seems to be forging ahead with the granting of citizenship under the Bahamas Nationality Act, even though they are fully aware that the Bahamas Nationality Act cannot be extended without a referendum, because
what is the Bahamas Nationality Act? Many of us aren't familiar.
Bahamas Nationality Act is the Act of Parliament that the Department of Immigration and the government is using to justify the naturalization of persons who are seeking citizenship in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
So that's not the part of the law, the immigration law that says, for example, people who were born here and once they get to the age of 18, they have that window to apply. That's not that you're speaking of.
Well, that's the Constitution.
Okay.
So when you miss that window of opportunity, the Bahamas Nationality Act cannot catch those persons.
Also, this is what you're saying. So, many people do miss that window.
Many have,
Yes.
have missed that window.
Right.
But they have a policy at the Department of Immigration that permits them to consider those persons' application. And if you look in the newspaper on a almost daily basis now, you can see numbers of persons making applications under the Bahamas Nationality Act to gain citizenship. Now, what concerns me with that is that we are creating what I call fake and pseudo Bahamians, because those persons are fictitious. Most of them who are making these applications, they are not Bahamians, but they have Bahamian names. And I brought some information with me this evening, some evidence. So what you have happening is, on a daily basis now in the newspaper, you can see persons giving notices.
But we have noticed that and discussed it on the show, yes.
Yes. Numerous notices appearing in the papers where people are
How do
seeking.
how do you explain that? Because we have seen Chinese trying to change their names to Bahamian names. Why? And or even any other nationality, Haitians, wherever else, from wherever else. Because the thing is, we know the laws of immigration as it relates to citizenship. But this changing of name is almost as though, like, who are we granting these citizenships to?
Yes, and we have to do our due diligence. So what I decided to do, I said, you know what I would do?